Red. All right. Welcome to Profits in Process. I'm your host, Ryan Grant, and today's guest is like me. She's a fellow hostess, except I'm not a hostess. I'm a host. She's so much more than that, but she's an author, which is a phenomenal thing to be able to say. She's a mother, which is, I think, the most important thing to be able to say, if you are given the blessing to be able to do that. What else is she? She's a friend to many, a confidant. She's dope as fuck. And I think that she represents a lot of spaces for women of truth, of honesty, of vulnerability that many aren't willing to be in. So with that being said, our guest is Erica Dickerson. Thanks.
Hi.
I always ask, does that do justice to the
That was
intro?
beautiful.
Okay.
That was perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're like, I need to be literally just listening to you asking all the questions, because honestly, you're the standard in relation to a lot of podcast hosting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you know why, and for me, at least in many ways, because, and this is just a real quick thing, I don't want to give too much away, but I think that I respect, number one, the persistence, like, and fortitude to be able to continue to do that. In that, talk about process shit. How long how long has it been?
Almost 6 years.
Yeah, see, okay, we'll talk about that. That's a fuck. Like, it's been like 6 months for me, and it's a little crazy. So we'll dive into that. But we always start off with a question where I give even though I just gave you an intro of what you do, I give the guest an opportunity to explain that. So, Erica, what do you do?
What do I do? I do a lot of things. Like you said, I'm a mother, so that's my most important job, I think. I feel like I facilitate, or I kind of lift the veil around shame when it comes to women and mothers too, around just being honest about how we feel, our desires, our pleasures, our pains. I facilitate women's circles, so I'm a retreat leader, I guess you could call me.
Oh, you're building a cult.
Yeah. Oh my God,
I would say,
have you seen Mother God?
Yeah, well, I have only seen parts of it, and it is insane, and yes.
I'm obsessed, because when I started watching it, I was like, oh my God, it's me.
See?
But then
Close.
I said, wait, she took it too far.
Close, see? But there's a fine line, because you could get there really.
She took it too far.
You could get there really quickly, though.
Everyone who's listening just got really scared. If you've seen that documentary. I'm an author, I am a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a human. I'm a lot of things, Ryan.
Well, I can't really ask, have you always done this? Because you do everything. You do a lot of things. But for me, for people who understand, I think so many people now that identify you in relation to the podcast, just to give a clarity, tell the audience what your podcast is, and after you shout it out, then I'm going to give my own perspective from a positive place about it.
Okay. I am half of Good Moms, Bad Choices. My partner's name is Jamila. And we just have a lot of honest conversations, just me and her, and also with our guests, about an array of topics: culture, sex, dating, life, different perspectives. We really enjoy getting people outside of their comfort zone. A lot of people in this space ask the same questions. We generally don't. My superpower is making people feel uncomfortably comfortable. So
I like that.
So that's kind of what we do on our show. We definitely push the boundaries and limits, and that is turns me on.
Oh, sweet.
So I'm really blessed that I've been doing this every week for 6 years.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah, that's a phenomenal.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And really, the show is really based in me and Jamila's friendship, to be honest. That's where it really was rooted in. And that's really why our tribe, which is what we call our people, has really stuck with us for so long, because they've watched our friendship bloom from the beginning, because we didn't start off as friends. We were just acquaintances that started a podcast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So people have really listened to our friendship bloom. We've, as a community, discovered stories about one another together at the same time. So it's a very deeply personal audio journal, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I want to dive in a little more in relation to how you started. That's actually, I didn't know that you guys actually weren't friends when you started. So that's a whole different process around deciding you're going to start something in a podcast space with somebody that you don't really actually know. And so the conversations are, how do you do from the start? What did that look like in regards to being honest? Did it make it easier to be honest with somebody that you didn't actually know, that didn't know your shit, that you learned? Or does it make it harder to kind of build that rapport?
No, it made it a lot easier. I think I was just at a point in my life when it started that I was ready to be honest. I wasn't always this honest. I grew up in LA, I grew up in the Valley, a Valley girl.
Oh, you're a Valley girl. No judgment.
And sounded like judgment.
Because there's a little bit.
I grew up, I've always known I wanted to be in front of the camera. I was an actress since I was a kid and modeling and shit. And then I became a parent kind of unexpectedly and willfully, but unexpectedly. And my whole world was turned upside down. I just was not prepared, mentally prepared, emotionally prepared, financially prepared. My relationship was not prepared.
Yeah.
And I found myself a single mom very abruptly. That was not the plan. But thankfully God had other plans. At the time, I really didn't understand the vision because I was distraught. I had met Jamila, or I'd seen Jamila on Instagram while I was pregnant, and she was pregnant, and my friend had posted her, and I was like, who the hell is that? Like, where is this mommy friend? Like, I was the first of my friends to have kids. So
Gotcha.
I was like, who is she? And she was like, oh, that's Jamila. And I saw her, she was like pregnant and tiny. And I was like, looked like I was having triplets. And I would talk about this a lot on the show as I judged her. I was like, who the fuck is that? Like, this little tiny bitch, like. And then like a few months later, she had her baby, and then my friend posted her again. I went on a deep dive of her page.
Yeah.
She was at some hotel with her daughter on her like hip. She must have been like maybe 3 months with a glass of champagne and like a string bikini. And I was like, wow, why is she outside? Again, judgment. But thankfully God like took it a step further and said, well, you need to know her. And so I told my friend, like, where is she? Where is she at? And at that point I had my daughter.
Yeah.
And I was in the thick of like new mom, whoa. And so she was like, oh, Jamila's we're going out tonight. You should come meet her. And I was like, all right, say less. And, people always ask me like, how did you start your podcast? And it's like, I didn't. God started the podcast because never in a million years at that time in my life would I have made an effort to go meet a stranger at a bar. But that's how desperate I was. And so I dropped my kid off at my mom's house. My mom was like, where are you going? My daughter was like 2 months old. And I was like, I'll be right back. Pumped in the car in front of this bar. Went in because I knew I had like 1 hour.
That's so dope. You said you pumped in the car before you went in.
Yeah.
Like
pumped in the car, went in, and was like, I need to find this girl. I have an hour before my mom starts calling and tripping. So I seen like a few friends that I knew. They were like, Erica, where you been? I'm like, bitch, pregnant. And I was like, where is she? And I ended up going to the bathroom and I found her in there. And I was like, hey, hi, I'm Erica. And she's like, hey. And I was like, I heard you have a kid. She's like, I do. And I was like, we should get together. I think we have mutual friends. And thankfully, Jamila's like the nicest person you'll ever meet. She's like the girl that makes all the friends in the bathroom.
Wonderful.
And so she was like, yeah, I'm down. And little did I know that she had also gone on a deep dive of my page, made a lot of assumptions about me as well. I think she thought I was engaged to an African prince because my baby shower, my
It's a phenomenal assumption to make. If you're gonna
my
make an
baby
assumption,
shower, all white. I was engaged to my child's father. He's a rapper, so it was giving something that.
That's a good assumption to make. If you're gonna make an assumption, assume that you're married to royalty.
So there were a lot of assumptions made. Anyway, we hung out. We ended up hanging out like 2 days later because we were not fucking around about this play date because I think we both really needed that.
Yeah.
And we hung out, and it was cool. It was a little surface. It was like we smoked a little weed together, which like I hadn't done with any like people outside, like after having kids, because I felt like I was going to be judged. So I was like, oh my God, she smokes, cool. How's your relationship going? Oh, it's so good. We're so happy. I'm so happy. I love being a mom. Just like, just all the
light shit.
Just all the light shit that we were not being truthful about. And then we might have hung out like one more time after that, but we were like in the thick of it. So like trying to foster a friendship in the middle of like also trying to birth this new person that you are was virtually impossible. So I lost track of her. And then like maybe 2 years later, me and my child's father had broken up in this very ghetto way. And she must have heard through the grapevine, and Jamila's nosy as hell, thank God. And so she hit me up and was
she reached out.
Hey, it's Luna's second birthday. You should come to the birthday party. And I was like, okay, cool, say less. And at that point, so I had been single, I had started dating. We talk about this in the book that I joined Tinder. I was like having all these like interesting experiences for the first time because I'd been in my relationship for all of my 20s pretty much. And I was having the best time just like kind of being a little naughty, but like didn't have anyone to share these experiences with because again, I felt shame that I had a kid and I was a single parent and I was having sex and I wasn't like, there was no future of a relationship with these people. I was merely just trying to find myself and have fun. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to this birthday party because if there's one person I can share these stories with, it's Jamila. And so I went to the party with that knowing, and also with the knowing that I had started listening to podcasts around that time, and it was mostly murder mystery podcasts. And so then I started searching.
Why? Hold on. Why the fuck do women love
murder?
Why? Yeah, what is going on here? This is
murder.
What is this? I'm sorry, I don't mean to fuck with your flow.
Because we love the psyche of it. We love the psyche of it. We love the drama. We love the sitting on the edge of your seat.
Is it because you guys actually want to commit crazy stuff inside?
Probably a little bit.
Well, but you know what? Interestingly enough, I think that there's something to that because women, I'm okay with you gravitating towards it and not doing it in person. Men do it in person.
Yeah,
men do it in reality.
Yeah,
so you guys do a good job of knowing how to take energy and transform it into something else.
Yeah, we do it in a different way. We slowly kill you in other ways.
I know. See, there you go. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I started searching podcasts around motherhood, single motherhood. There were none. They were all very white, if they did exist, very married, very like moms who drink wine and call their kids assholes and shit. So I was like, this is not speaking to me. Again, God came down and said, why don't you do this? There's spaces open. Why don't you do it? And I was like, well, who am I going to do it with? I was like, well, Jamila did invite me to that birthday party. Maybe I'll ask her. So I went to the party knowing I was going to share these tales, these dating tales, and also ask her if she wanted to start a podcast with me. And so when I got there, lo and behold, she was
asked her at the birthday party?
I did.
Oh, shit.
So when I got there, Jamila was there in her little tiny outfit at her daughter's princess birthday party. And I was like, yep, there she goes. That's my friend. I'm going to be able to tell her the story. And so I shared the story with her about basically I started dating this married couple, and I was really excited because it was something like I'd always kind of wanted to explore with my partner, but I couldn't trust him. And so I had kind of entered into this space with this couple that was, I felt like so beautiful that they had invited me into this space, and it wasn't like, you hear me tell this story and you're like, oh, that's nasty, like they're done like freaky shit. We were, but also they allowed me to see what trust looked like in their relationship. Where in my relationship, it had been broken so terribly that I needed to see this. And so I was super, super excited to share this with my friend. And she was like, oh, girl, guess what? I'm single too.
That's what's up.
So it was like, oh, so we're both single together? Well, fuck it. Do you want to start this podcast? And she was like, what's a podcast? Like a radio show? I was like, sure, yeah. And she was like, okay. So we just like hung out, went to Burbank to like this vintage, the area with all these vintage stores. We're like, okay, we wanted to look old timey look, like the photo shoot. So that's what women do. Like we plan a photo shoot, right? Before we even had a podcast. Took the pictures and then...
So you hear that? There you go. She just broke it down. She gave you the blueprint.
Step one, have a photo shoot.
Have a photo shoot, and then all the ideas of creativity will come from there.
Well, then, so we had the photo shoot, we had the pictures, and we're like, well, we should probably like record something. So we just were in my car and we're like, let's just do a practice. And we just pressed record on our iPhone and just started talking. And
in the car.
And then we're like, well, we don't want to do that again. Let's just put it out. And so we put it out, and again, God came out on like International Women's Day by accident.
Oh.
And, you know, I think we just said everything because we didn't think anyone was listening, because they weren't really at first. And so I didn't have a lot of fear. And I was really excited to have this new friend and share and talk and find out her stories and her perspectives and her experience being a Black woman growing up in white spaces, and her experience like now being a single mother and dating, and just her journey to who she is now. And so over time, you know, I think like 5 months in, after doing it every week, we started looking at the numbers, and I was like, oh, people are actually listening? Yeah. And then we started getting messages from women like, yo, you're changing my life. I really needed to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. And after that, I was like, well, we're in it. Let's do it. And that's kind of like the conception of Good Moms, Bad Choices.
That's so awesome. And the reason why is because I think that you said it really briefly, because you felt that no one was listening. Maybe it was subconsciously or unconsciously, you felt more comfortable to just kind of like shoot your shit. So it really wasn't, you weren't speaking to anybody.
I was speaking to my friend.
Yeah, exactly. You were speaking to your friend, you were speaking in the ether, just like putting it out there. So I'm sure it was therapeutic in relation to...
It's still therapeutic.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why actually in relation to this podcast and the other aspect, the social interview, why I do is because I feel that sometimes the larger something becomes, the more you want to protect it. And people start to, it's understood and it's easier to, be more cautious of this or that, as opposed to when, you know, it's the same thing you look at children. It's like when you don't really feel like people care, you just do what you want. When you feel like there's nothing at stake, you just do what you want. And usually what's at stake is not from internally, it's externally telling us what's at stake.
Absolutely.
And so I really appreciate you. For all the people who want to start a podcast, don't, just because it's crazy. But if you want to do something and you're apprehensive because you're worried about what other people will think, fuck it. Who cares, man? They're going to think about it regardless. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that you and Mila, in relation to each other, you guys are reflections of each other. Because I think, and this is a perception, but I think that you guys are good reflections because you complement each other in ways of, Mila feels a little bit more extreme to you.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And you feel a little bit more grounded. But I think together you guys bring out the best of each other. Mm-hmm. You said something in relation to, and this is kind of a side topic, that I think that talk about process and like trust, and you spoke about it in relation with the couple, and it just sparked my brain when you said that there was such a level of trust, and you said that these are things that you wanted to do in your relationship, but you didn't trust him. And I just found it really ironic, funny, and like simple that how you could, the most basic of things, and it shows that if you don't trust someone, the most basic of things you won't feel comfortable doing. Mm. But when you truly do trust somebody, it opens up so many doors for what you're quote unquote willing to do and willing to be able to put yourself in a space. And I think that to me is like, it shows the range of what, and how, not the range necessarily, but how important trust is in creating life, creating opportunity, creating all that shit. It's like, and it starts with, of course, trusting self, because I don't believe trust goes anything outside of self. If you when you don't trust somebody, it's because you don't trust yourself around them. You don't trust how you'll feel. You don't trust what you're going to actually, yes, you don't trust what they might do, but you don't trust what they might do in relation to how it's going to make you feel. So,
I mean, I think Jamila's, if I could think of like the top 3 people I trust the most in my life, she's definitely in that top 3. And I think that it speaks to when you see.
Who are the 2 others?
My mom and...
We're going to dive into mom in a second.
But I think that the trust, the reflection and the growth and the success of our show is a testament to trust. And is the reason why it's expanded the way it has, because we have trusted each other blindly in ways.
Yeah.
And I've trusted her with my secrets that I haven't even shared on the show. I've trusted her with my child. I've trusted her with my heart. And so I've just trusted her in all ways. And
this is a Mila appreciation podcast.
I love you.
This is for you. So clearly,
she's my wife. Not really, guys. Relax. People get really weird about that. But I think that trust is the medicine. I think pleasure, trust, honesty, that is the medicine that so many women specifically, but also men, they need in order to be able to kind of really ascend and expand in the ways that we're supposed to do while we're here. And that's the gift that she's given me. And I think hopefully I give that to her as well. But yeah, the trust aspect as far as like relationships go, absolutely. Like, I mean, you see this all the time on Instagram, like women saying like, if you protect the woman and she can trust you, then you get the softest version of her. It's fucking that basic. It truly is that simple. And for some reason, that is such a hard concept for men to just grapple. Or like they don't want to. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can speak to that, Ryan, because I don't really know. But I feel like women, we like are screaming at the rooftops like, you will get the best version of us if you keep us safe and you fucking just like do the thing. But
do the thing.
Just like honor us, respect us, and protect us.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that most men probably have that awareness, number one. And then I think that the men that probably do, and not all of it, of course, like, listen, there are many phenomenal men out here.
Absolutely.
Like, and yeah, men are, yes. As everybody knows, I love women in relation to like what they bring to the power. Yes, y'all are God. But I do think that the men that do have that awareness, they feel ill-equipped to necessarily do that. And as much as I think we complement each other, and I know what women bring to the table, what men bring to the table and what men go through, women do not understand in the same way that I can't understand what you go through as a woman, as a mom and everything. Like it's impossible because I'm not that, which is powerful because who I am complements that. But in the same breath, you will not understand and do not understand. And so I think that in relation to that, we don't listen to each other. What I've seen is that men and women don't listen to each other. Women don't listen to what men like. Men don't listen to what women need. Because men's needs change in relation to women a lot of times because men do everything for women, their entire existence. If it was up to men and women were not around, we would do nothing.
You think?
Yeah, I don't actually believe men would do much because most of our motivations and our quote unquote purpose is in relation to something has to charge us. And what are men charged by? Like sex is one of them, absolutely. Like the ability to procreate, yeah, exactly, to further our genes. That's probably the root of it.
I was going to say, I think that's the root. That's
the root. That's the root of it all.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
In relation to, I think, what they're willing to do to get to those steps. Yeah, because I think subconsciously on a biological level, that's what we're trying to do. We want to actually see us further down the road. We want to see replications of ourselves in that capacity of whether or not a woman can be that, whether or not a partner can be that, in what relation, how will you help serve that, whether it's just by support, whatever it is, whether they're going to help me learn about myself to the next, whatever it may be. But within that, you'll aspire, because you hear the tag phrase, a woman makes a man better and all that other shit. It's 1,000% true. Because at the end of the day, look, how many situations where dudes will get their shit together because of a woman or lose a woman and then get their shit together, whatever it may be. So I think that it is simple. I think it's fucking simple.
I think there's a level of like,
but easy now.
You can communicate, but do you comprehend?
Yeah,
and also like when you said the awareness, it's like you can communicate with someone, but it's like, and they can be aware of what you're feeling, but are they keeping that awareness with them throughout the day? Do you know what I mean? Like how deeply seated is that awareness where like you're always part of their choices in some ways, And I think women, we often are like, we're always thinking about it, and how we can, compliment him and support him. And I can't speak for all women because there's women that don't do that, but I often find that men struggle with that concept
because we're isolated, and nurture looks different. So it's not as I was gonna say. It's like, how do you function at that? Because as a man, I couldn't function if I was always thinking about. Now, what I'm always thinking about is protecting and supporting mine. Now, it looks very different in relation to, I know what the first thing that I wake up, what I think about in relation to how can I provide and protect mine? Not necessarily nurture, but how can I provide and protect so that then they can be their healthiest.
That is nurturing.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's very much a form. So this is why I say, like, to feel ill-equipped and to feel like you can't actually do anything with your awareness, if you see a storm coming and you realize, oh, I can't do anything, it's a crippling feeling. It's a very dangerous feeling. And I think a lot of men feel that way.
The women are the storm?
No, the storm is life. The storm is all the other things that come around in society. And if you feel like you can't do anything.
You could just build shelter and protect.
Most men don't know how to build shelter.
That's not my problem.
I feel you. No, and it's not. That's the point. It's not your problem. Absolutely. That is the point. That within that process of them feeling it's not their problem, and they don't want to make it your problem because that's not your role. Your role is to essentially nurture in the capacity that you have to. But for the understanding around, like, yo, just create that space. It's like most of these dudes and most men in general are like, I can't build nothing. I can't actually like stand on my own 2 feet in relation to how those feelings. So I think that it's simple. I don't think it's very difficult. I mean, I don't think it's easy. There's a difference between simplicity and something being easy because I think that we make it a lot more complicated than it needs to be.
It really is that easy in my mind. I mean, again, I'm a woman, but
yeah,
I think that men get so caught up in, I don't want to say the details because it's not the details, how they think we want them to show up.
Yeah, that might be true.
Instead of, and again, this comes back to the comprehension. It's like we can say like, hey, I need this, this, and this.
Do you think most people in general, I'm not just saying women, are actually forthcoming and really honest around what they want?
Absolutely not, which is why I do what I do.
Yeah. So then it's like,
absolutely not. Even women, we have a really hard time even sharing what we want. And even men, even worse of a time sharing what it is that you want and desire, and in all the ways. We're always tiptoeing around egos and, not wanting to, make our man feel like he isn't providing for us or if he isn't pleasing us, but also our needs are not being met. So how do we express that? We don't. We just kind of suffer in silence, or we become resentful, or, we lose ourselves essentially. And with men, like when you step out, you check out, you, whatever it is, like you use your ego becomes the more dominant person in the relationship, where like everything is based out of that, and then nothing can get done. So, I think the more that women and men have these type of conversations, the more we kind of heal that wound. And that is a part of my mission in this life. I want women and men to come together. And I think one of the misconceptions that I think of my show is that that's not what we want. Or maybe early on in our show, maybe not so much now, because it's been a journey. Me and Mila, we started our show as two single moms dating that were deeply hurt and wounded by our partners. So there was a lot of like, I don't give a fuck about men's feelings. I don't care. I'm doing whatever makes me happy. And that's that, and a lot of women obviously can resonate with that, because every woman has kind of been in that, like, let's burn this shit down. And then hopefully you grow and you evolve. And my perspectives have grown and evolved. And I realized how important it is to heal both the feminine and the masculine, especially if I want what I say I want, which is divine partnership, which is to be protected, to be cared for.
That's an actually interesting thing. And I think that you just spoke to how it's grown. I always tell people, if you're in a particular space based upon experiences, what's happened to you, whatever it may be, and that's how you feel, how do you expect something to change if that's your entire world? And when you said that, it started with conversations about men, and rightfully so, the conversations about men were probably trashing us, because men can be trash in moments and have done certain things. So if you have these conversations and that's the energy you're giving off, how much of it is it? When does it have to change for your world to change?
Well, it doesn't have to change at all. Like we could stay there, but that would be like.
Well, I'm saying if you want your world to change, I was like, sometimes I hear people in any aspect where it's like they speak to a place. I remember I said this one time to my brother, and he was young. He was making a particular type of music, and it was angry fight music. But it's because he was angry, and understandably, it was like, young, you see what the fuck is going on. It's like, nah, yo, I'm angry about all this shit, injustices. And I said to him one time, and I was like, yo, how you expect to be in a different space if this is all you give energy to, like being angry? And I was like, I understand why you're angry, but do you expect to ever change? And he didn't have nothing to say to me. He was like, I don't know. And I think that sometimes it comes with growth. Sometimes it comes like in a moment. Sometimes it comes, you experience something that changes your perspective. Was there anything within that? Or did it just take time over growth? Was it part of parenting? Was there something that within that space made you say, hey, I changed what I want to feel. I changed what I want to see and how I want to actually.
It's a layered question. There's a lot of things that led to that shift in perspective and the constant shift in my perspective. One of those things is just understanding how powerful my words are, and how I've yielded my words and literally built a very successful business by speaking and understanding and believing my words as true. And so if I'm also speaking negatively and believing those things, then those things will also be true. And they were, And I think also, I've met such incredible men along my journey in this process of Good Moms, Bad Choices, you included.
Thanks. Man, I was about to say, fuck. You about to say, I met all these great men. You should meet them too, Ryan. Fuck.
I have. That have changed my perspective and watered me, and watered the crackly, crunchy parts of myself that were like dead and fucked up and angry, and said, okay, well, maybe it's not so bad over here, And also just, I think the beauty of being a podcaster is you get to interview so many people, and I've interviewed hundreds of people. And
I'm not gonna front. That's really why I do this shit, because it gives me an opportunity to meet really phenomenal people and reflect on who they are in relation to who I am and how I see myself. And so
and it helps expand your perspective. And absolutely. I think also having a partner like Jamila and us, being mirrors to one another, seeing her go through certain things that maybe I'm not experiencing, and being able to say like, girl, what the fuck are you doing? And then vice versa, like us being able to check one another, I think has allowed us to have to grow. Like you could stay the same by yourself, but if you're in cahoots with someone that is also agreed that, hey, we want to expand, like then that's what will happen, and that's what has happened, and
it's like a relationship because you have other people.
Yeah, and I think that I have just seen how my dating experiences have just become better and better and better and better. Every man that I've encountered from the beginning of singleness till now,
that's wonderful,
has been better. There's been a few, frogs along the way, but even I'm grateful for those
why I gotta
too.
Be frogs, yo?
Frogs can be women and men. Okay?
I feel you. Okay, bet there you go.
But I think that even those I've had. There's been beauty in that too.
But that I also think that that's a testament to you, because
I'm an optimist.
Yeah,
I'm a natural optimist.
And to be able to take perspective, something quote unquote terrible could happen, and you've had it before where something happens and your friend is like, yo, how you, what? That's crazy. If it would have happened to me, and you look at it differently and you're like, damn, that's not how I saw the situation. And sometimes their perspective might bleed into yours where it's like, well, maybe I should look at it differently. But I think that's a testament to who you are and where you are right now, to be able to say, even, there's a couple frogs around the path, but even within that, it's been beautiful, and I can appreciate what they've given me, because you're able to take away the profit in the process of all the things.
There you go. See how I did that? Yes. Look at that podcasting skill, Ryan.
I am learning. Well, clearly you learned all this from your mom. So I want to go into your mom now. So before you got into actual podcasting and that became your life, because so much of that is your life right now, where did you see your world going?
Oh, wow. Where did I see my world? I was going to be a famous actress / singer, writer.
Is that still a possibility?
Acting will always have a piece of my heart. I've been acting since I was a kid. It could be. You never know what could happen in 2024. But I think my passions for those realms have shifted in a different way. I realized I had been like auditioning for years, right? And like booking things here and there. I had a few like cool breaks, whatever they call it in that town. And then I started my show, and like I was getting auditions and stuff, and I was getting so much anxiety. I was like, I don't even want to go on this fucking audition. Like I was avoiding it. I didn't want to do it anymore. And I think now that I'm reflecting on it, it was because I was stepping into just being so confident being myself for the first time. Because as a kid and as an actor, I got to be other people, and which felt safer to me.
Yeah.
But then there wasn't safety in that, because you wouldn't even book the role. Like you did all this work, and you're like, I'm this person. They're like, no, you're not, bitch. And I'm like, wait, it wasn't good. That's not good enough either.
Shit.
So it made me feel acting actually made me deeply insecure. I think also because I started at such a young age, so I started to understand comparison very early.
I appreciate that honesty.
And so one day I realized, this was recently. I was on our YouTube channel and I was looking at our full-length episodes, and I was like, I have a fucking TV show, my own TV show.
Yeah.
I produce this shit. I direct this shit. I created the concept, and I'm the fucking star. And I was like, I don't need that.
Word.
Or if I wanted to now, maybe I'd be more confident stepping into that space now, because I've done work every single week understanding who I am. Mm-hmm. Whereas like when I was acting, I had no concept of who I was. So therefore, how could I be anybody else? So I think that...
There you go. You're giving masterclass shit right now. There you go.
So I think that stepping into acting now would be drastically different. And I do get excited about it. I've considered it. We'll see. Music, not so much. I love music. I'm like the girl that makes the playlist for all the friends. I make the playlist at our retreats. Like, I secretly maybe in another lifetime would, or like maybe my next career is like a DJ or something.
Okay, all right.
But I still do enjoy writing. So I don't know. I've thought about, I have a friend who writes music and I was like, maybe I would go write with him one day and just like try that hat on again. But those two industries like severely hurt me. And so like music, I had a bunch of really horrible experiences with men in that space. So I was like, I'm cool on that. And then acting, there was just so much rejection and like, I just didn't understand a lot of it. A lot of it was, just had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So I kind of like have put those away, but that's where I started. That's what I wanted to do. And then, also supporting my mom's business. So my family business is in beauty. And so my mom hired me early on in her company to, the first job I had was to be a model because I was free, literally, like she didn't have to pay me.
She knew what to do. She was showing you
and
business.
I became the face of her brand, like long before it rose to the success that it is now. And then diving into social media and helping grow the business in that way. So, I've had substantial careers before I got into podcasting.
Yeah.
I worked as a beauty executive. I was acting. I did kid modeling and stuff. But and then becoming a mother, which obviously is a role as well. But all those things really prepared me for what I do now. So I'm grateful for all the trauma because I've had to work through it. And I've had to, and honestly, talking out loud is so powerful. And I talk about this a lot on my show, and I talk about it a lot with my tribe, that like, I encourage people, you don't have to start a podcast, but you should record yourself talking out loud. I think that it's really
I think it's important.
Powerful to say things out loud continuously, to really try them on, to say like, do I actually believe that? Is that me?
Yeah, I'm so glad you say that again, please, for the audience.
I think it's very important that you say things out loud, to try them on and really deconstruct whether those belief systems are yours or someone else's.
To me, that's so important. How many times have we had a thought? We've come up with this idea of something, and not having to say it out loud allows it to store it, whether it's anger, pain, sadness, insecurity, whatever it may be. And then sometimes we say it out loud and we're like, that wasn't a big deal, or it wasn't more of a big deal. It was like, no, actually, you know what? I don't really feel that way. Mm-hmm. I'm struggling to say this out loud because I don't actually feel that way. And I think being able to say things out loud in relation to affirmations, being able to say things out loud in regards to thoughts and questions around it you have. Listen,
you need to have conversations with yourself and not in your fucking head, because that can be very...
exactly. That can destroy you to some degree. And listen, I talk to myself all the time, and I know there's a fine line between that, but I think for me, it's been really healthy. And on the few or many, we're not going to talk about the amount of times I might have taken medicine, but in a few of those sittings, possibly I've asked myself some questions out loud, and a lot of times the answer has come without there actually being a verbal answer.
Mm-hmm. It's a knowing.
Yeah, I think there's an internal cellular understanding that we have in relation to everything. And I think sometimes when you ask a question, you do know and understand the answer without having to voice it. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that. I think that's very, very beneficial. Now, I want to get to Mom Dukes, because we've had a couple conversations off camera over the time, and you've talked about how important your mom is to you. Mm-hmm. And I love to always give props to moms.
I love my mama.
So tell me about Mom.
My mother is a alchemist, is what I would just...
it's one of my favorite words. So
how I would describe her. She has really set the standard for just having a dream and saying fuck it and doing it and pursuing it every single day and I've seen I've seen her process like very close up as far as just obviously being her daughter, but then also watching her build her business. And for those of you listening, my mom is the founder of Beauty Blender, which is a global beauty brand, that pink little egg makeup sponge.
It's like Kleenex for tissues, just to let you know.
And she invented it. And she was a makeup artist my whole life. So I grew up on and off sets, sitting under her makeup chair, looking up at her, like doing the makeup of like these celebrities. I had no idea who they were, like Tupac and Biggie and Brandy. And, you know, she was the head makeup artist for Girlfriends. And, you know, she's had an incredible career. I had no idea how important it was at the time.
Yeah, of course. You're just in it.
But it's been such a beautiful, it's been beautiful to watch her really take this idea. Really, she needed a solution to a problem, and then she invented this tool that's changed so many people's lives too. I mean, I think beauty is such a deeply personal experience for people. I think a lot of times people don't associate makeup with mental health, and just beauty in general with the mental health, and so. It could sound vain, like, oh, you're gonna put a bunch of makeup on and not look like yourself. But no, like, beauty is meant to enhance your beauty. Hopefully, you're not like painting a whole new face.
Hopefully.
Unless that's what you're going for, you know?
Yeah, anyway. Listen, at the end of the day, fuck it. Do whatever the hell you want. You want to cake it up, cake it up.
Cake it up.
You want to blend it in, go get the beauty blender.
But also love yourself. Love what you look like, you know, at your, you know, purest form, I would say. But yes, I just watched her create something from nothing. She was a single mom, and sometimes I think about my life and how it's even now currently mirroring hers. You know, my mom found herself a single parent very abruptly as well. Mm-hmm. My dad was an NFL player and very much in the limelight during that time. Somewhat similar to my situation, not quite the same, but my child's father, he's an artist and a creative as well. Had to figure it out, had to figure some shit out, invented something, created something no one else was doing. Good moms, bad choices. And just was unapologetic about it and just kept going for it every single day, like no matter what, like working at it little by little by little. And she got a lot of people that said, no one is gonna get this. Why would anyone need a pink egg makeup sponge?
Yeah.
And now we know why people need a pink egg makeup sponge. And now we see all the imitators because we are the original. And she's been like such a mentor to me. And outside of just being my mom, like she's been such a mentor and hasn't always understood the vision of my own journey.
Which is fair. I think that's very mom.
Yeah.
Momish.
And even now, we had this conversation a few days ago, and she was like, I don't listen to your show. And I was like, please don't. And she was like, but it's been a journey. Like, she's very, very proud of me. But obviously, we help people feel confident in different ways.
Yeah. Different but the same.
Yeah.
How does that, you know, when you see the way you speak of your mom, you speak of her as, and I said, I think that it's from relation to the age. You're saying you didn't really know the magnitude of what she was doing. You just knew that she was doing. And it was like, yeah, she's doing really cool things, but I don't know to the degree what it represents. Now that you do understand, is there ever a moment of, damn, yo, should I be doing that? Or man, can I do that to the degree that my mom did? Or was there a support from her in relation to say, like, you don't have to be me. You don't have to go in these steps in any capacity. Or was there a standard? Is there both? What is that in relation to how she sees your path, or how you see your own path in relation to her?
I feel like I have, just in general, had imposter syndrome in on this journey, in my path here in the space that I'm in, and even in the beauty space, in acting space. Like, that's something that I'm continuously working through in therapy.
Yeah.
I think that part of it is rooted in the success of both of my parents are very successful. Like, they both came from nothing and have had exceptional careers because they just bet on themselves.
Wow.
And it's obviously genetic.
Which means you have both of that. So how does that?
It's
Okay,
obviously genetic,
if
but-
it's genetic, then literally you have double that.
And that's what I do have to remind myself of, because I experience that sometimes where I'm like, oh yeah, I feel it. But then sometimes I'm like, what if I don't rise to the success of either one of my parents? Like these big shoes I have to fill. And I've had this conversation with my mom and she's like, you have got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like we're two different people. Like your version of success is not my version of success. And it's true. It's true. So it's just like, I can't help but put pressure on myself because that's honestly how I fuel myself.
Yeah.
But I think that both of my parents, as long as I'm happy, they're happy. That's all they ever want.
What are some of the things that you do in your life process to put healthy pressure on yourself?
Healthy pressure? It's a good question. Let me see.
Stumped them. Got her.
Because I'm thinking, is any of this shit I do healthy?
Yeah, there we go. Got her.
I'm like, I know that sometimes I overwork myself. I think the healthy pressure comes from the space that I try to give myself to just create without the.
I can tell you right now, I'll give you an example that I know that you do.
Okay, tell me.
You consciously are trying to be honest in the spaces you show up. Mm-hmm. That's healthy.
That's healthy pressure?
Yeah, because whether it's subconscious or not, society doesn't want you to be honest. Mm-hmm. And I think when you create a world, we're insulated a lot of times, you know. You can create that space, but when you step outside, it doesn't want that because you can be judged. There's a safety aspect that comes along. We talk about trust. We talk about all that. It's like, chances are being honest and being yourself, it's not a safe space because of everything that comes along with that. So yes, you create these spaces internally that hopefully you can expand. So I think that that's a healthy pressure because the more you expand within your podcast, within who you are, in all these different spaces that you take on as Erica, it's going to become easier, but also it'll become more, which essentially I think it has the capacity to become a little bit harder to then continue to just be that space. Because some of it might be, I don't want to do this shit. Mm-hmm. What if at one point in time you expand to a point where it's like, you know what, I actually want to kind of,
I have felt that way throughout this process.
See?
Like, to be honest, there's been times where I'm like, I don't want to podcast anymore. I'm tired of fucking talking. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say.
And that's okay,
and
if that's honest.
And so the pressure that I've put on myself there, healthy pressure, now that I'm thinking about it, is like giving myself space to not do that. Yeah. It's saying, go take a break then and relax, because that's something I'm not good at, is taking a break. I'm so obsessed with what I do. Like, I'm obsessed. Ask Nelly. That unhealthily obsessed sometimes. And I've had to acknowledge that, even as a leader.
Yeah.
Where I've had to, that's one thing that I'm like still learning. Like, my mom is a beautiful leader. She's an amazing leader. I struggle with leading. I'm not always healthy. Sometimes I put a lot of pressure on my team. I sometimes, my expectations are high because I've done everything every job that I've hired someone to do, I have done. I know how to edit. I know how to videography. I know how to find guests. I know how to get money. I know how to upload. I know how to find topics. I know how to do every single fucking graphic design. I'm a Canva queen. Like, I've made decks.
Canva queen.
I've been the assistant to myself, acting like I'm not myself.
Oh, that's what's up.
I've done it all. So my expectation is unhealthily high sometimes.
You need to play team sports.
I have sometimes. I was telling Jamila, I was like, do we have a false sense of confidence? Because sometimes people will be like, well, that didn't perform well. And I'm like, I don't care. This is what I deserve. And they're like, but it didn't perform well. And I'm like, I don't care. that's what I want that.
No, you're just an artist. Artists are the only people that can do that.
So, I mean, I've literally had to be delusional to get here. And my delusion is literally my superpower. And thank God my partner is also absolutely fucking delusional as well.
Yeah.
Because if we were normal, like, we would have quit this shit a long time ago. When our friends told us, why the hell would you name your show Good Moms, Bad Choices? That's a terrible name. Why would you talk about sex and make a clip about it and put it on the internet?
Yeah.
That's terrible. What if your daughter sees that? You're gonna write a book? You're gonna say things? What if your kid reads that? What if she listens? And like, we've done, like, I've been asked all these type of questions, you know? And to be honest, there's been
I'm gonna ask some of those fucking questions too.
And there's been a lot of times where I have had insecurities about it, where I've had to be like, am I making the right choice? Is this okay? Like, I would be lying. I don't just wake up confident every morning and step into this space and say, yeah, this is who I am. I do most of the time, but there's also times where I'm like, should I rein it in? Is this too much? Am I gonna not get that brand deal because I did this? Am I gonna be overlooked because I'm a Black woman exploring this? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I know that I'm not here to make people comfortable.
There you go.
I'm not here to do that. I'm here to make radical change, and radical change requires some passing up on me.
There you
radical
go.
change
Not for everybody.
Even requires like some men passing up on, a lot of men passing up on me.
You ain't for everybody.
I'm
not.
But
you don't want that.
And that's okay, because I know my value, and I know
Right.
what type of woman I am, and I know what type of, you know, what I bring to the table. And there have been a lot of dark moments and thoughts around that. And so it hasn't always been easy to show up in this space. It has not. And honestly, like, my community is what carries me through a lot of the time. So yeah.
First off, I actually think your name is phenomenal with your podcast. It is a
it's carried us.
It's a brilliant fucking name.
It's carried us.
Within that space, I have to be honest around, and we talked about this a little off camera, but I have to be honest around my perspective around that idea of good moms, bad choices, because I think it is a very real and honest thing. Within that space, it feels sometimes, and this is from me from a distance, I don't have a true proximity, I'm not watching all your episodes, but I do think that for me, my perspective is sometimes that there's, and I use this phrase for you, an irresponsible liberation around the idea of bad choices being like a good thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's my perspective, but it's from a space of, I feel like we are understanding that so many toxic aspects of patriarchal societies and how things were done from an unhealthy manner of control, oppression around women, around this idea of how women should be, how they should act. And it's fucking crazy. So because of that, if the pendulum swings on a full, it's swinging back wildly hard, the liberation is, well, fuck it, we're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want. Mm-hmm. And I love it. Part of me loves it because it's like, but in the same breath, it's like, where's the accountability in relation to doing whatever the fuck you want? Because what comes along with that is you are a representation, you are examples. How do you doing what you want, how does that affect people judging what you do? How does it affect people acting or reacting in relation to everything that you do? And how do you find that balance within that space? Or is it all a level of, the extreme to me is, well, I'm just living free. Mm-hmm. And living free is without, quote unquote, taking accountability for the reaction to the action a lot of times. And that's what what it feels like sometimes. So please give me your perspective around that.
I have a question for you.
Go for it.
What does irresponsible liberation mean to you? Exactly.
It means that within the frame of claiming liberation, you can do whatever you want with no accountability for.
So what about what I do screams irresponsible liberation?
No, you know what it is? I don't actually think that it's what you do. I think I have a thing about the conversation. A lot of this is in relation to children. I have a thing with what is considered sacred in conversation.
So meaning like what I share about my own personal journey, or like what I share about my child's personal journey, because there is definitely a boundary there.
Okay.
Like for sure. Like my daughter's 8. I don't really share her on, like when she was a baby, like I talk about stuff, but like as she's grown and as I've grown, I protect her privacy a lot. And I actually ask her for permission a lot. And then as far as, sorry, go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. Continue.
And then as far as like whatever it is, this liberation or this freedom, my liberation is not without boundary. And I think that when men see women living in their liberation, and whether that is ownership, autonomy over their body and their pleasure and how they choose to share it, there's this assumption that it's for mass consumption. Like not necessarily mass consumption like social media, because yes, it is. Whatever I share is for mass consumption in that way. But that also people have access to me in a way because of how I choose to show up, you know? And I say that because I've had men assume certain things about my character, maybe how I view relationships, which is like, oh, maybe she's polyamorous or something. I'm like, actually, no, I'm monogamous. Or maybe she must like sleep around a lot because she's very open talking about her sexual experience, past and present.
That's a crazy misconception that a lot of men have.
A lot, most men.
Yeah, I would say that.
And I've talked about that with my father, because me and him talk very candidly about sex. And he's actually been on my show, and for some reason he told me he's like dying to come back on my show. He's hilarious.
Real quick, her father is Eric Dickerson, and shouts to Eric and Mr. Dickerson, because this guy, I modeled my game after him. Like, one of the greatest of all time. So, dude, much respect for you. Thank you for creating Erica, and giving a little bit of your genes to her. And she's ran away with it. And
I look like him. I stole his whole face. But also, I get to think a lot of my radicalism from him. You know, my dad was kind of a radical player, and he had a lot of radical perspectives. And he was kind of
he changed the game in a lot of ways.
Kind of blackmailed or listed based on his perspectives, because they were not popular, because they were, you know.
Yeah, he changed the game a lot. What they did was.
Yeah. So I think as it pertains to this notion of irresponsible liberation, of doing whatever you want, I think that I don't know if you can actually put those two words together in my mind, like liberation and irresponsible. I think ultimately the person who's experiencing it determines that.
Word.
And
absolutely, and I agree with you. So I will no longer, because I actually agree with that. It's only a personal thing.
And for me, and how I show up as a partner and as a parent, my daughter knows who I am. I don't hide much from her. Am I telling her about my dating experiences? No. But
why is that a no, as opposed to anything else? Why are some things off the table but not? And it's a personal thing, but
should I tell my daughter I had a threesome last night? I don't think my 8-year-old needs to know that. But well, does mommy's dating? Mommy's going on a date? Yeah, I'll tell her that. Absolutely. Yeah. I like this. I have a crush on this boy. I have a crush on a boy. Like, now we're at that age where I'm like, I don't mind telling her that. And in fact, I want to tell her that because I want her to feel so safe being able to share with me, because I came from a household where those common conversations were not had.
Yeah.
And if they were, it was like a one and done. And that's kind of the mistake that I think a lot of parents make, is that they feel like they've checked things off the list. Oh, we had the sex talk, we're done. No, you're not. You're going to keep having that sex talk over and over again until it becomes less uncomfortable for you and her. And I'm actually going through that right now, because as my daughter's getting older, I'm realizing like, wow, I'm not. I told my friend the other day, I was like, I talked about this shit on the show, but like, I'm not equipped. I have like, I feel really uncomfortable talking about this. And I'm like, I gotta but it makes me excited. Like I live and I love the discomfort, you know?
I like that.
I want to rise to the occasion and like move past it. But
like you run towards the discomfort, even though you know it's like I'm about to go through the shit.
No, I'm not gonna like say I'm always just like
Okay.
fucking running towards it. But yeah, I think that as parents, and you understand this, like we have this unique opportunity to kind of rewrite everything, and like, and there's like these defining moments. Like I know like, when they pop up, you're like, oh shit, here we go. Yeah. Here it is. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna get mad? Are we gonna shame them?
It's an opportunity.
Are we gonna just ignore it and act like it didn't happen? Like, what are we gonna do? And I like that shit gets me wet. That shit makes me excited. Like that shit makes me excited in all spaces. Not just with my kid, but like with relationships, with friendships. And I think that my daughter, we are very different. My daughter's naturally conservative. And maybe it is me. Maybe it is because she has a free little wild woman. I put air quotes because society has this like perspective of what that means. Woman as a mother, and also her father's he's a wild boy. And I think that she is like very chill, very timid, and likes to follow the rules.
She's like, I got the two of y'all. I don't need to be wild out here.
Rules. I don't have to worry. Like one thing about her is she gonna follow the rules. Like if I park in the red, she's like, what are we doing? The police are gonna come. And I'm like, we're fine. No, we're not. Move, mom. We have to move. And like she'll like literally throw a fit. I'm like, yo, chill out. You know who your mother is? You don't follow the rules. We park in the red, honey. I'm like, maybe that's dramatic for her. But yeah, like I even with my like consumption of cannabis, I don't hide that from my daughter either. Am I like blowing big blunts in the house with her? No, but she knows. She knows that I smoke flower, and she knows what it is, and she's seen it, and I've even let her touch it because I'm not. It's a fucking plant.
Yeah, the honest conversation.
I'm not gonna be weird about it, and she has no interest. She's just like, okay, whatever. Can you hurry up? And I think because I have normalized a lot of taboo things that she's not fazed and she's proud of me. And as long as my daughter's proud of me, I don't really care. And and there will be times that maybe she'll hear some shit and she'll be uncomfortable. And we can have a conversation about that because hopefully I hope that I'm building the foundation for us to in the future be able to have these conversations. And I hope that one day she will listen to my audio journal. And I think that's a beautiful legacy that I get to leave her, where she can go back and see, well, who was my mom at 32?
What age would you feel comfortable with her wanting to listen and actually doing it?
I don't know, 18, 19?
Damn, 18, 19? That seems kind of old to me.
Old?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, she'll probably go before that, but maybe not. Maybe she'll be like my mom, be like, I don't want to listen to that shit. But I even in my book, I wrote a letter to her at the end because I did dive into my relationship with her and her dad in that book, and it wasn't great.
Yeah.
I tried my best to be kind, with her in mind, but while also sharing my testimony.
Yeah, being honest around.
Life is. I want her to know that like. Shit isn't perfect.
That you're figuring out. You're human too. You're figuring it out.
And I probably will fuck her up along the way because that's what parents do. It's kind of our job to also like sprinkle a little trauma on our kids.
Yeah, sprinkle a little shit. Give us a little flavor. That's a little seasoning. It's a little seasoning.
They need to grow from something.
It's a little seasoning. No, I like it. You guys give them a little seasoning. Yeah. You see what happens when you're not seasoned. You have no culture. Okay, so as of recently, I've seen and in conversation with you, I've heard you speak about your energy and being mindful of your energy. Mm-hmm. Within that space, we recognize that like everything is an energetic exchange, whether it be pictures, video. How do you, and I guess this speaks to as well with the podcast and to your audience and what you put out there, how do you simultaneously share your energy honestly while also protecting your energy in spaces in relation to what you are comfortable sharing, what you are deciding not to share, when, how, in relation to when you take breaks, when you give yourself that time, when you guys do a phenomenal job with your retreats for the podcast. how mindful are you that in relation to everything? Because to me, all of this is energy exchange, you know, and there are some times where I personally feel like, even though it's honesty, it's too much energy that I'm giving out. Or even if it's something there where it's like, you know what, I want to give more energy out, even though it's uncomfortable, whatever it may be, I want to give that space out. So is there a thought you give in relation to the energy exchange of how much is too much, how much needs to be seen? Is there something is that consciously thought, or are you just kind of figuring it out on the way?
It just depends. I feel like I'm pretty intuitive around what type of energy exchange I'm going to have with someone before I have it. Sometimes I'm wrong. I have this practice that I learned in, just meditation, Reiki, and it's I literally zip myself up when I know I'm going into a space where I don't know what the energy is going to be.
I like that.
And it works. And, sometimes that zip up can confuse people because they'll be like, is she okay? And I'm like, I'm perfectly fine. I'm just not, and I think this has been an ongoing thing for me, growing up in general. I think that I have always got this, people's perspective of me is sometimes is she mad? Is the resting bitch?
Oh, you give that face, huh?
Resting bitch face. And sometimes it's no, I'm just pensive or I'm observing.
It's a good word to use, pensive.
And because sometimes I'm an intro outrovert. So sometimes I can be really out there. I'll start the party, right? And then the next time you see me, I'm in the corner and they're like, is she okay? I'm perfectly fine. I'm just taking in the energy or protecting myself from the energy. So, I think that it just depends. Now that I'm doing these retreats with women and, facilitating large groups of women, it's a different type of practice that I've had to learn, and I'm still learning how to protect my energy because I am an empath in ways, and taking on other people's things. The more I step into the space, the more open I become and the more susceptible I become to energy. So I've actually had to do more work to protect myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's I can't, as you expand, you're hitting more. And so because of that, you have more things that you actually have to protect, so that makes a lot of sense.
So with that, the aftercare is very deeply important for me. Whether that's in the retreat space, whether that's I've exchanged energy with someone that impacted me in a way I was not expecting. So the aftercare of that is really important, whether that is a smoking a blunt, whether that is going into a deep meditation, whether that is taking a bath with 4 pounds of Epsom salt. There's different things.
4 pounds.
For real. Not kidding.
No, I believe you. Listen.
Get 3 of those bags and put that whole thing in there, honey. And just having to really expel things out of me. And I'm not perfect at this.
Yeah.
I'm still a baby in this energy protection game. And thankfully I have a lot of mentors that guide me in that space that are way more seasoned and kind of facilitating large experiences that I do, and also just being open to having people that are constantly my DMs are constant, Discord constant. Hey, what do I do about this? Hey, this happened to me. Hey, and it's really trying to protect myself and not feel because at first I felt if I don't respond, I'm a bitch. I've created a space where people
judge yourself
really
in
feel
relation to
well, my community. Maybe I don't know if I think maybe our communities might be a little bit different in this way. Is that they feel like we are their best friends in their head because we are in ways, and we do engage with them. We genuinely are in in our Discord community. I know people's deep personal business, and some of them even know mine. But I've had to even scale and protect myself in that way, in some ways. But I don't know. I at the same time though, I love the energy exchange that I'm able to have within the spaces that I'm in. So I don't have a perfect answer for you. I think it's
Hey, no,
just that
that
like
was
I try
that
my
was great.
best to do my zip up. I try my best to breathe it out. I try my best to avoid certain situations because I often have a deep knowing of things that I'm like, this shit is not right. I'm not even gonna.
Something ain't right.
Yeah.
You trust. You got your intuition. That's it. And I think that the more awareness you have and the healthier you become, your tenors get better as you get better. And you are becoming more seasoned within those spaces. You have experience to kind of see, I know what that looks like.
I said that before.
Yeah, exactly. So within that, we call it, I used to call it not rehab, but prehab. It's maintenance. And so within, the things you have to do, you recognize also the things that you have to do to continue to maintain the things you have to do. And a lot of times we wait until things crumble to be able to, okay, now you got to pick it back up, as it's saying, no, maintenance and the prehab is just as important for me to be able to show up in the manner in which I want to show up in a healthy way. So whether it be taking care of your body, taking care of your mind.
And getting really uncomfortable saying no.
Oh, where's that come from?
Where's it come from?
Yeah.
It's protection.
You said you get really uncomfortable saying no.
No, I said get very uncomfortable.
I thought you said I get really uncomfortable.
Oh, no, I'm great at no.
Okay, there we go.
It's the yes I've had to work on.
Yeah, okay,
It's
I'm
the
with
yes
you.
I've had to work on. No is great.
I feel you. I'm the same way. I have no problem saying no.
I will leave a situation. I will literally go meet out with people, and I will be like, I'll leave within 30 minutes.
Oh, that's better. I'll just be like, I'm not gonna.
Well, no, because maybe I didn't know. Like maybe I was, or
Yes,
I did know, but I tried to push that yes, and I said, let me just go, and then I go and I'm like, nope, I'm out, and I'm like, yeah, they're like, you just got here. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm leaving. I don't want to stay. I'm cool. And honestly though, there's been times where I've had to push past that because I know that there's been times where I was wanting to say no and then I said yes and then I was like, thank God I said yes. Like I would have never had this experience. So then it gets confusing. Like, oh God, should I say no or say yes? And then you're just like.
I wish we could have like a overview sometimes where it's like, oh yeah, okay, you know what? I can go. It's like I see what's getting ready to happen. I can go. Or nope, I knew this was. I'm not going.
Well, it's like this. Jamila just finished tantra school, and I'm actually in school too to become a tantric practitioner, and they talk about discriminative awareness.
You have to.
And that's it. It's that discriminative awareness.
Yeah.
Where you're like, yeah, no.
Yeah, but I think that listen, people don't understand in relation to power, and I don't mean power over others. I mean personal power. There is a level of discernment. You have to be able to actually make those choices and stand in them because it is really important, or the quote unquote potential consequence or something that comes at the expense of it could be really detrimental, devastating, whatever it may be. So it is important, what do they say with those who, I don't know, fucking holy book in regards to, about the, with, great power comes responsibility. It's like, yeah, when you recognize your power, it doesn't make you, it actually builds more responsibility because of your impact. You have a greater demographic to actually hit. So yeah, I think that you did a good job. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
From what I've seen, you're doing a good job.
Appreciate you.
And I appreciate your reflection in relation to mine, because I do think that as a man, I can't help but there's a sense of judgment, and I think I do a decent job, especially in the way I was raised, because I was raised by crazy women who all basically were like wildly powerful and knew their magic in the same breath. I think as a man, we still try to frame things in relation to what we value in our world, And I think that's kind of how we,
Well, there's like a decolonization of like all of the spaces. Like when I think about, me and Mila recently hosted a play party. So a play party is...
Please tell the audience what this is.
A play party. So a play party is essentially a space of play and pleasure where you can indulge in sex if that's what you want. This party in particular that we hosted was in association with another play, a very popular party in New York called Susia, NYC. And the Susia's whole mission is to decolonize sex and allow Black and brown people to experience pleasure in a safe space where there's no judgment, where there's no shame, where there's a lot of safety, where the whole basis is consent. And I had never really experienced any sort of sex party ever in my life until I went to Susie. My friend invited me in New York, and it changed my life. And not because I was over there fucking, because that's always people's perspective. It was literally the consent speech that got me.
There you go.
Shout out to Luis. And just how that space was designed really for you to exercise your boundaries in a way that like you probably don't in your everyday life, where like you can get really uncomfortable, where you can get very comfortable saying no here. Like if you have a problem saying saying no, this space is designed for you to practice that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that was for me like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful place. And on top of seeing Black and brown people feel free to just play in this almost like childlike environment. And so we collabed on one in LA a few weeks ago, and the theme was Afrofuturism. So everyone was dressed up in their Afrofuturism outfits, and people flew in from all over the United States. Right. And I realized, like, I know people saw that on social media and they were like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Like, what are they doing over there? And for me, like, pleasure is medicine in all ways. Like, when you think about when you eat food and how it tastes, like if you really sit there and you like really savor what you're eating, like there's medicine in that, mood shifting in that. When you're able to explore pleasure in all ways and not just sex, because those spaces are not just designed for sex. Like people come and they just chill. They're having a drink. They just want to see some shit. It's actually very educational. There's people there showing you different modalities that maybe you've been interested in. Hey, like I'm interested in rope play.
That's good. I was going to ask about that in relation to the discretion around who you choose, because I'm guessing there's a vetting process because
there's a very strict vetting process.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a vetting process in relation to safety and all that. And within that safety, are you choosing individuals that are more comfortable to participate?
No.
Or are you choosing individuals that are more comfortable to literally be honest within there?
That's not even a question on the vetting form. Like, are you trying to participate? Like that's not the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is to feel free in this space and to be respectful and understand consent. But it is a place for you to explore things that you have maybe felt ashamed of, or that maybe you've been intrigued by but had no idea where you would even learn or witness someone doing this, not in a pornographic setting. And so when I walked into the space, I felt such immense joy seeing so many Black and brown people just play and feel free and feel confident, and everyone looked beautiful. And I don't know if these people look beautiful outside of this space.
You don't know if they feel beautiful.
But when they were there, they were.
Yeah.
And I think about my retreats too, and it's like women, and I think maybe not so much men, maybe you can speak to this, but women, we need a visual permission. Like, and I think that's what me and Jamila are to women. Like, we give women permission in ways to ask questions, to explore different parts of themselves by literally doing it. Like, I'm gonna take 2 weeks away from my kids and go write a book because that's what I want to do. Some women have never spent 2 days away from their kid.
They might have had that idea, but seeing another woman
do it, and like seeing me do it, and I come home and I'm a bomb ass mother, like they're like, oh shit, I can do that. Like, oh, I can go to a play party and I can still be valuable. I could still be worthy of respect. No way. Like there's just all these things that I think women need permission for. And so I'm happy to be the visual representative of that, especially as it pertains to experiencing pleasure in all ways, So I feel like that's my life's work, and I'm really happy to do that, and I'm really happy to be passed up for it, because I would rather be passed up than not experience what I'm put on this earth for to its full capacity. So
I usually ask people, I don't like advice. Like, I don't like unsolicited advice because I think
Vibes.
advice is something that people ask for. So
Big Sag energy.
Big Sag energy. Is that Big Sag energy? Okay. I guess it is because I think if someone asks, that's one thing. But I do think everyone has wisdom in spaces. And so I ask for you to share the space that you have where you feel you're wisest in relation to your experience and what you've learned in this life. And then I'm going to ask how you feel it might help others.
Okay. So you're asking me where do I feel my wisest?
Yeah, like where's your wisdom lie? You wrote a book, so.
My wisdom lies in my testimony, who I am, being myself. That's my wisdom. And what was the second question?
How do you share that with the people in relation to going about using that for themselves?
I mean, only whoever's listening, only you know how to be yourself, but there are steps in which I could recommend, which is, drowning out the noise, spending a lot of time alone.
Oh yeah, let's slow that down because there you go. That's literally it. Steps. What are the steps?
Drowning out the noise, which usually means spending time alone. Process of elimination. You need to eliminate certain people from your life. The naysayers that you keep asking advice for. Like we have this like strange addiction about like needing validation from people and always going to the person that's going to like probably shoot down your idea. Like a parent, right? Like, should I do this? Your parents be like, I don't think that's a good idea. And then there goes that $1 million idea that you had,
It's like a self-sabotage. They're looking for the negative confirmation in spaces. Yeah.
So I think that there's the elimination process. And also like what we consume is so important, and I even tell people like, if you go on Instagram and you see my picture and you feel away, please unfollow me. Like please make sure whatever you are consuming.
Yeah, don't give it to yourself.
Genuinely makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
And like fills you up. And then once you get there, you can refollow me. But I've had to do that to myself. It's so powerful what we consume on a daily basis, and that includes the people you keep around you. That includes Instagram. That includes YouTube. That includes all of what you're reading. So I think just really being mindful of that, which is that's the most challenging thing I think in this world right now that we live in. And for me, like I literally I don't really know what's happening in a large part of the world because and it's not because people say like there's been a lot of conversation around privilege, right? Around like you have the privilege of not being able to like put energy towards this thing. And I get that, I do. And and I understand the importance of, using your voice and perspective in certain ways, especially like having a platform, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a self-preservation that I feel like is really important. Because shit is going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
Like the evils will be eviling and the goods will be gooding. And you have to like figure out how you find your footing within there. And there's a lot of protection that has to happen within that. So I would say, figuring out who you are, what that means to you. And who you are is always going to change because that can feel like an overwhelming task. Like, who am I? Oh. And the answer is like, you're becoming always. So.
On that note, last question. Who are you, Erica?
I am love.
Perfect answer. Just because it's honest. I have some other questions, even though that is the last shit, and this could be off camera, I don't care.
It's your Patreon?
Maybe, yeah. Fuck it, I wish.
Before we do, do you want to ask where the audience might get?
Yeah, I'll do all that. My question is still like podcast related, but it was just in relation to some other stuff. Where can everyone, and I wish we don't have a copy of your book here, but please give them details on your book real quick.
My book is called A Good Mom's Guide to Making Bad Choices. It's not a book just for mothers. It's a book for women. And actually, I think some men should read this book if you have a husband.
She looked at me, so she just gave me an eye. So I'm gonna.
It's the book that I wish I had when I got pregnant. It's there's a lot of books about how to care for children and babies. Like. What's that famous book that What to Expect When You're Expecting? But there's no books around like how to care for you. Like you kind of like the mother is removed and it's just the baby. So this book really is very, very raw and honest perspective around motherhood, womanhood, responsible liberation. And
she's trying to clown me. But that's all right. That's good. I like that. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, just really questioning everything. And then you can find me on Instagram at Watch Erica. You can find me on all platforms, podcasting at Good Moms Bad Choices. You can find my retreat at the Good Vibe Retreat. We're going to Costa Rica in February and July. We have a Mother's Day.
What's the retreat called? Say it again.
The Good Vibe Retreat.
All right.
Yes, and we have a Mother's Day weekend retreat in Atlanta. It's our first stateside retreat, and it's
that's
actually
sweet.
a creative retreat. So it's for women to come, because yes, we are, women liberators, but we're also businesswomen and entrepreneurs, and we've built multiple businesses.
That's part of liberation.
And
Absolutely.
I'm kind of a marketing guru. So
Are you?
I am.
Word.
And so I am excited to be able to share that part of my gift with
Dope.
a select group of women that will become, because this is actually a much smaller retreat than we're used to.
When's that in Atlanta?
When?
Yeah.
May 10th through the 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go. Because Erica and Mila and her whole crew are doing phenomenal stuff. It's impressive. It's really great to see.
Thank you.
Like, it is. Because it's yours, you're doing it on your own terms, you're doing it your own way, and you are empowering a lot of people in a lot of different spaces, whether it is from a confident aspect, from a inspirational aspect, focus, discipline, and you're learning along the way. Mm-hmm. You guys are not experts doing expert shit.
I received that.
So I fuck with it. Thank you, honestly, Erica, for this conversation.
Thank you.
Keep being you. Keep walking in your space. Fuck them. Or don't.
Yeah, we're not doing a lot of that these days.
I feel you. And welcome to Profits in Process.